there are a lot of these youngsters who are going through the same thing, right? And suppose they have left their homes and cities and they have come and they have decided, okay, I'm going to make movies. How, what advice would you give for them to survive both like financially, but also like mental sanity wise?
I think financially, the best advice is that you have to be self sufficient. Like the reason why I used to do those odd jobs is because I wanted to pay bills. I didn't want to go and ask money at home and constantly be like, I need this money. And I wanted to be in a position where they don't have to pay for me, but I can take care of myself. So at a certain point, that became very important for me. So financial independency is very crucial because you understand how hard you have to work for your dream, right? That is a very integral process. And then the second thing for me is that the second thing that I would tell people is that the thing that is in abundance today is validation. You have validation. Even if you put out a shitty piece of sentence, there'll be 5 people to like it. That doesn't mean you are closer to becoming good at that particular craft. There is a certain, meditative, iterative process to anything that you do. It could be cinematography, it could be editing, it could be direction. You only get, like, there's a very famous line in, I think, Revolver, where one of the characters says, you get better by playing a better player. It's about chess. So you have to constantly become a better player, right? You have to constantly practice, go to the nets, play. Only then your skill becomes industry standard, where you cannot be ignored. The thing is that if you are really good enough at what you do, then you will cut above mediocrity very easily. But getting to that point requires tremendous amount of hustle, dedication, and like a lot of sacrifices where you have to be very hard on yourself. But I actually am very scared. I don't know how I would have survived in this world because it is very distractive in nature. Like the amount of distractions that existed for me back then versus what youngsters go through today is, like heaven and earth in terms of. So I don't know how you can advise them, to double down and work on something. But ultimately, the reality is that you have to get good at it. Only then can it's like you do one podcast, it will still feel very glitchy. But you do 50, 60, 100, and then you start experimenting, you start playing around, and it is the common point across all things in life that I think today's generation misses out on. And like for example, editing is something that I constantly see. There are so many fantastic editors who keep doing these reels, right? Of they take some film from that thing, they take another film. And it's like a subculture, which is beautiful art in itself. But if I wonder, maybe I'm speaking as an old person, as a 40-year-old, I'm like, okay, what is their career going to be like? Because it's not going to pay you, right? So if you have to become an editor, then you have to study editing. You have to, it's not just putting 3 shots and making 16 seconds, but what is the next goal? Like, do they know that? I wonder. Probably they're much smarter than me. I don't want to think that they don't know, but I feel like sometimes when somebody writes to me and they're like, I made this edit, I feel this compulsive urge, like an old man, to say, by the way, also read this book and watch these films. But I don't want to also come across like an asshole who's like, talking down. So I'm like, okay, good, whatever. I mean, I hope it works out. But it is a very complicated thing for today's generation. I think focus is what I would advise.